All right, so for our final exam here, guys, just a couple of things. First off, we don't have a lot of time, obviously, to review for it. So I will be posting in Google Classroom review podcasts from previous years, done by units. Okay, so a final exam review for chemistry, a final exam review for biology, a final exam review for physics. Okay, so that you can, if you have time and the desire, you can watch those. I do go into a fair amount of detail about what types of questions will be there and solve a few examples in each one. Okay, so probably worth your while to have a look at that. Okay, in terms of the final exam, there are 50 multiple choice questions. Okay, and they are mostly recall kind of stuff. Okay, realistically, the multiple choice part of this final exam should probably take you about 25 minutes. Okay, like you should be able to do at least 2 of these per minute. Okay, they're that kind of straightforward. There's not, okay, hey, do a multi-step latent heating curve of water calculation for 1 mark on this multiple choice question. Okay, that's not fair at all, and I wouldn't do that. Okay, if there is any calculating, it's ridiculously easy stuff like V equals D over T. Okay, something like that. All right, so you should be able to get those done fairly quickly. Okay, for the written response, I'll change it something. Hang on here, guys. Okay, so there are 15 written. Okay, and I'm not wasting the written. Okay, the written ones are talking about the most important concepts that we covered in each unit. All right, so the first, I want to write this down. I'm going to give you like intimate detail here, okay, about the final exam. The first written response question is asking you to balance 3 chemical reactions. Okay, because balancing was one of those really important skills from Unit 1. Okay, question number 2 is going to give you the word reactions to full chemical reactions. You will have to write them out in formula form, identify the type, and balance. Okay? So writing out a full reaction. So I give it to you in words. So like hydrogen chloride reacts with sodium hydroxide to produce water and sodium chloride. And you would have to write that out in formula form, identify the reaction type, and balance it. Okay? There's 2 like that. Then there's 2 where you have to predict the products. Okay, so I give you the reactants in words. You have to write them out, predict the products, balance. Okay, exactly the stuff that was on your chemical reactions assignment at the end of the chemistry unit.
What was that one again?
So predict the products. Okay, so question number 1 has an A, B, and C. Question number 2 has an A and a B. Okay, question number 3, A and a B. Okay. Question number 4 has an A and a B. It's 2 mole equation calculations. Okay. So all 4 of the skills you were supposed to master in the chemistry unit. Okay. Balancing, writing reactions, predicting reactions, mole equation. Okay. Then it shifts to the biology unit. Okay. And the first question is about transport in plants. Okay, we did a lab about transport in plants, okay, so you should probably understand how that works and what the tubes are called. Okay, what direction would they transport? xylem and phloem. Okay. Should probably know those. Okay, and then there's a question about cellular transport. Okay, cellular transport was probably the most important concept in that unit. We talked about 3 types of cellular transport: diffusion, osmosis, and active transport. Okay, make sure you know how each of those works. Okay, there's questions just like what were on your unit exam. Here's a situation. Which cellular transport method is going to happen? Explain how that will work, okay, or what will happen as a result of it. Okay, you had the snail question on your unit exam. Okay, they went to the Great Salt Lake, why that was going to be a disaster. Well, because of osmosis. When we go in there, there's more salt in the water than there is in the slug. The water moves out of the slug across the membrane to balance concentrations. According to osmosis, snails shrivel up and die. Okay.
On the multiple choice, would it be like those cell transport questions that you like the concepts you kind of touched on?
You mean the receptor-mediated phagocytosis and chromocytosis? Possibly. They would be pretty much, be able to recognize them, don't know them in detail. Right? So if you know that one's engulfing food, one's about water, one's about hormones. Okay. Right? Because they're all the same mechanisms, just what they transport that's different. Right? Okay. Okay, question number 7 has to do with, again, another plant transport question, okay, but also tied to cellular transport. Okay, has to do with one of the analysis questions in your plant transport lab. Question number 8 has to do with cell transport and cell size. Okay, we did that activity with the cubes. Okay, we talked about how when a cell gets really big, its surface area to volume ratio gets out of whack. Okay, the distance that materials have to be transported by diffusion becomes really big. Diffusion doesn't work well over big distance. Make sure you go over that. Okay, that concept is tested in a written response question.
Would that be like the like space?
Right, the amoeba question on your unit exam, right? The giant amoeba in Star Trek, like that one. Yeah. Okay, that's it for biology. Okay, so there's only 4 written response on biology. Okay. Okay. Question number 9. Work energy theorem problem. One we did at least 10 times in class. Bow and arrow question.
I hate those.
Okay, go over those. There are only about 20 examples in the podcasts, and should be in your notes as well, okay, that you could look at on exactly how those questions work. So go over those so you know how to do them. Okay? A graphing question. Number 10 is a graphing question. Okay, so there'll be a graph there. You'll be asked to perform some calculations on it. You'll have to remember, is it position versus time, velocity versus time? How do I do this on that kind of graph? Okay, so make sure you go over the 2 types of graphs. Okay. There's an acceleration problem. And it has to do with a falling object. It is so much like the one on your unit exam. You would guess right. Okay, and then a law of conservation of energy question in the form of a roller coaster. Well, this way, see, this is, I mean, it's me also, it's me saying, I want you to study the right things. I want you to show me what you know. But it's also gonna be one of those situations where if you don't do well, I'm gonna go, but I told you everything. Okay. Okay, and now on to the last unit. Okay, question number 13 is like the Quincy question that we just went over. Okay, it's a device, structure, heat transfer, conduction, convection, radiation. Question 14 is a climatogram. Okay, you'll be asked to do exactly the same thing as the unit exam. What biome does it go with? Explain. Write explain in capital letters. Detail is added. Fifteen is a heating curve question. Okay, now you can really tighten up your studying, okay? You know what to look over, you know what skills to practice, okay? I'm doing that because I understand, normally our exam writing period is 2 days longer, okay? We altered the schedule because of the distance learning that went on in December, okay, to get 2 extra class days, which I'm honestly thankful for because we were a bit rushed anyway, okay? But understand that that means that your exam schedule is more condensed than it usually is. That's why I'm giving you this much detail about the test. Okay, that way you can go, all right, I know exactly what I have to study. I know exactly what Mr. Codere wants me to demonstrate. Okay, that's what I'm going to go over. Right now, you're not going to waste a lot of time studying stuff that won't be on the test.
How much is it totally out?
137. Well, there's 50 multiple choice, right? They're 1 mark each, and then most of your written response are like 5 marks, right? Or your heating curve question, which isn't really a lot of work, is like 6 or 7 marks, right? It was 8 marks on your unit exam. Okay, so there's some questions that are kind of mark heavy, right? I know it seems like a lot when I tell you that number. It seems like a lot, and it's because I'm trying to give you as many marks as I can. Okay, for method and things like that throughout the test. So write lots. All right, in the multiple choice, I'm mostly looking at, like I say, simple recall stuff. So you'd have some naming stuff for chemistry. And so it could be a multiple choice question like, which of the following is the right formula for sodium hydroxide? Okay, or what's the correct name for HCl? Okay, something along those lines. Okay, you could have some of those. You are going to get this. Not that. The thing under it. Okay, this is your final exam data sheet. Okay, periodic table on one side. On the other side, solubility chart. All the formulas that you will need, latent heats, specific heats that you'll need for the test. Okay, Avogadro's number, the mole equation, y equals mx plus b is on here. Acceleration due to gravity is on here. Okay, anything that you could possibly need for the exam, okay, is on this data sheet. Okay, and then obviously you got your periodic table on the other side. Okay, so don't bring yours. If you do, I'll just take it and give it back to you after. I have no idea how many notes to self you have written on it.
Will we get like Avogadro's and that equation?
Yeah, it's on there. Yeah, n equals little m over big M. It's on there. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, in the multiple choice for chemistry, there'll be some naming. There'll be some properties of compounds kind of stuff. Okay. The if you have a material that is a crystalline solid that is red and it's like stuff like that you have to remember your properties of compounds, lesson 4, okay, in that unit. There'll also be some stuff about chemical and physical changes, chemical and physical properties, okay. Identifying reaction type, there's no multiple choice of what kind of reaction is which of the following is a replacement reaction, like single replacement reaction, something like that. Okay, so just basically all recall stuff. Okay, naming's kind of skills, but it's pretty simple, so make sure you go over it. For biology, there's more multiple choice for biology, okay, because it kind of lends itself more to multiple choice. So the cell, okay, the parts of the cell and what they do is in the multiple choice. Okay, stuff about cell theory is in the multiple choice. There's some stuff about multicellularity. And plant transport. There's some multiple choice questions about plant transport. Okay, and there's some stuff in the multiple choice also about growth, plant growth. So trophisms, okay, hormones, okay, that stuff's all recall stuff, so that's all in the multiple choice. A lot of that was in the written on your unit exam, or to give you the picture of the tree that was kind of funny shaped and all that. That has all been moved to the multiple choice for the final.
What people should we know?
Well, I'm trying to think if I even put any people. I don't think there's any people from the physics unit. Dalton, Rutherford, they're pretty important. For chemistry, Schleiden and Schlon for biology. And you only had to know 4 people for biology, so I don't think I put any of them on, but I don't know for sure. Certainly don't spend hours memorizing people and places. Okay, for physics in the multiple choice, okay, scalar and vector quantities. Simple V equals D over T calculations. Reading graphs, not calculating, reading graphs. So I show you a graph and I ask you what's going on in part A, or what is the object in this graph doing, or something along those lines. So reading and interpreting graphs. And then a bunch of stuff about energy. So knowing like the laws, like the second law of thermodynamics, first law of thermodynamics, okay, conservation of energy, okay, just understanding, like knowing how they work, knowing definitions, terminology, okay, that's the stuff that's in the multiple choice for physics. There's not that much multiple choice for physics. And then for global systems, biomes. Components and factors of climate. Wind patterns. And specific heat capacity. Okay, that's what's on. Okay, morning, sorry, you guys ready this? You ready in the afternoon, don't you? No, morning. Let's look, I'm drawing a blank, I'm pretty sure it's thinking that.
That's a negative 4.
Okay, so yeah, sorry, it's afternoon, yeah. So show up to Mr. Dickey's room, okay, for 12:45, okay, or maybe a little before that. That's when the door will be opened. and you'll be allowed to come in, okay? And I'll clear your calculators, or I'll have a sheet that tells you how to do it, and then you leave it with the cleared screen on, and I come around and check it, okay? One way or the other, your calculator will be cleared before the test, so make sure if there's anything stored on there that you desperately want to keep. I can't imagine what that would be, okay? But just know to take it off because we're going to nuke it. Okay. Curiosity, why do they do that? Because people can, like, you can write notes in your calculator. You can copy and paste files and formulas and stuff over to it, right? I mean, that's what those graphing calculators are for, right? Just to store things like that. So they have to be cleared. If people really know what they're doing, they can put pretty intricate programs that will do a lot of problem solving for them. So they're cleared. There will be a bin for your phones, okay, when you come in. So just make sure that they're turned off out of courtesy for everybody else, so they don't ring, vibrate, or do anything else, okay, during the exam. Okay, and obviously your smartwatch or anything else that can communicate with it also have to be placed in there. Remember to bring some water or something to drink, and an exam appropriate snack. We talked about that already. Okay, make sure you bring that kind of stuff with you as well. Okay, and you have 2 hours to write the test. Okay, that's all. Okay. You should have no problem finishing the test in that time. I know it sounds really long when I say 50 multiple choice and 15 written, but some of those questions are going to go pretty fast, especially if you've studied for them and know what you're doing. Okay? Balancing a chemical reaction isn't going to take you very long, okay, if you know what you're doing. Okay? Even writing out reactions isn't going to take you very long if you know what you're doing. Okay? So here are my suggestions for when you write the test. Up to you, but I would do the written first. Okay? If for some reason you do get pressed for time, it's much easier to rush the multiple choice than it is to rush the written, okay? And worst case scenario, were you to run out of time, you can just fill in answers on the multiple choice form at the end and still have a chance of getting something. You can't do that for a 7-mark latent heat question if that's what's left at the end, okay? So I would suggest doing the written first. Okay, and I think we talked about this. Do you have to do it in order? Okay, take 5 minutes to read through it, figure out which ones you want to do first. Whichever ones you're most confident in, do them first. Okay, makes you feel good, okay, gives you confidence going into the other ones. Okay, so that's up to you. You don't obviously have to do it that way. Lots of people tell themselves they're going to do it that way, and then they just fall right back into question number 1, question number 2, and it's fine, it doesn't matter. But it's not a bad idea to do it. Okay. Have a couple of pencils, okay, with you, a couple of pens. You might want to do the, the actual writing, written parts. For biology and global systems, pen's a little easier, okay. But obviously, if you're doing, calculations and stuff like that, you probably want to do that in pencil just in case you have to erase. While you're preparing this week, I think I've already said this a couple of times, but make sure that you are practicing the skills you need for chemistry and physics, going over the material you need for biology and global systems. Okay, so reviewing notes and looking over labs. Okay, well, looking over labs is good for any of the units. Okay, but going over notes is really important for biology and global systems. Okay, there's a lot more material, okay, and a lot less skill in those 2 units. Make sure you kind of focus that way. Okay, obviously you know what skills to practice, because we talked about those today, so make sure you spend your time on those. You have did I post the review package yet? I haven't, okay, I'm gonna post that today. Okay, so I'll post the final exam review package along with the 3 review podcasts. And I'm sorry that we just didn't get time to do that. Okay, we fell a little bit behind with all this stuff, so, but they'll be there if you wanna watch them. And obviously you don't have to listen to the whole thing. You can just go to the example problems that they do and stuff like that. Okay, the final exam review package does have sample problems and things like that. I would suggest doing them. Okay, and then obviously you've got the 2 help times, okay, that you can come in and see me if you need to, okay, or you want to look over your old tests, okay, or something like that. That's also fine. They'll be laid out in there for you to look at. Okay. All right. That's all I got for you guys. Okay. You guys have anything you want me to go over?
Chemical reactions, like balancing.
Balancing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say something.
Don't worry about it.
Oh, I forgot that. See, it's a good thing I went into this. Solubility. There's a couple multiple choice questions about solubility in the polar nature of water. Yeah. Okay. All right, so I got, oh, there's 3. We'll balance those. Okay. All right, what kind of reaction is the first one? The synthesis reaction. All right. Okay, so we got a synthesis reaction here. Okay, and I need to balance it. I always start with the biggest number. That's the 2 on the chlorine. I've got 2 on the reactant side. I only have 1 over here. I can't put a little number there, but I can do this. Okay, so now I have 2 chlorines. But by doing that, I also have 2 sodiums. So I got to go back over here and make sure I have 2 sodiums. Remember, unless you're dropping and swapping and actually making the formula, you don't put little numbers in when you're balancing. Okay? In fact, you never put in little numbers when you're balancing, only when you're making the reaction. Okay? All right, this is a good one. What kind of reaction is this one? Combustion. Okay, do we have special balancing rules for those? Okay, the 2 rules are balance alphabetically and rule of 2. Okay, this will require the rule of 2 because it's got an even number of carbons, right? So I start out with a 2, and now I balance alphabetically. 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, and then hydrogen next. 2 times 6 is 12. 6 times 2 is 12. Now I balance the oxygens. I've got 6 oxygens here in the water, and another 8 here, okay, for a total of 14. 7 times 2 is 14. All right? Are you okay with that? And what kind of reaction is the last one? It's a double replacement reaction. We've got 2 ionic compounds and the metals swap partners. Okay? Sorry, where's that line again? Is it in another? Okay, so for this one here, I've got biggest number being 3 magnesiums here. Okay, I've also got 3 sodiums there, but I think I'll start with the magnesium. So I got 3 magnesium over here, okay, and if I put a 3 here, that balances my magnesium and gives me 3 oxygens. So I'm going to go back over here and put a 3 in front of this. That balances my oxygens, but gives me how many sodium? 6. Okay, so if I go over here and put a 2 there, that gives me 6 sodiums and how many nitrogens? Hey, look at that. Okay, it's worked out. So start with the biggest number, okay, and go from there, okay, and it should work out. All right, so you want to do a mole equation calculation? Okay. All right, so in a mole equation calculation, first thing I want to do is write the formula for sodium sulfide. There's a good review for writing formulas. Sodium with sulfur, ionic compound. So I need to write the charges. This is a -2, this is a +1. What do I do with those charges? Drop and swap. All right, so I'm looking at Na2S. Now I need to calculate its molar mass. There are 2 sodiums, so 22.99 times 2 plus 1 sulfur, 32.07. Right. Okay. Okay. Okay, so we've got our 22.99 times 2 plus 32.07. All right, so 78.05 is our molar mass. Okay, we're looking for how many moles there are. So the other thing they give us is the mass, 250 grams. N equals little m over big M. N is the number of moles. Little m is mass. Big M is molar mass. So 250 divided by 78.05 will give me the number of moles. So 3.2 moles. No, I'm not going to worry about seeing because if I did, I'd be wrong right now. I should have one more. Okay. Everyone all right with that one? You want to try that one? I'll give you a minute. You guys try that one. Okay. This one you're looking for mass. Okay. They're telling you the number of moles, and it's dinitrogen hexafluoride, a molecular compound. Okay, so we have 11 moles, so they told us what N is. Okay, and they tell us it's dinitrogen hexafluoride. So 2 nitrogens, 6 fluorines. Okay, so now I've got to do that. Molar mass of that, 14.01 times 2 plus, what's fluorine? Blank here. 19.00, right? Okay. Times 6. Okay, so 28.02 plus 19 times 6. All right, 142.02 grams per mole. Okay, so I have N and I have big M, and I'm looking for little m. Back when we did this, you thought this was like the most difficult algebra you'd ever done. Now you look at this and chuckle, okay? Because you've done so much bigger than this. Okay, so we're just going to multiply both sides by big M. That'll solve for little m, okay? And that's going to be 142.02 times 11 moles. And we'll have our molar mass. Or sorry, not our molar mass, our mass. So 1,562.22 grams. When you do your mole equation calculations on the final exam, remember your units. And you lose a mark if your answer does not have units on it. So make sure it has the right units, okay, on it. All right. So we went over 4 types of mole calculations. Okay. This one involved that second step where you had to use Avogadro's number. All right. So let's just walk through this one, then I'll have you try the other type. Okay. So we're looking for how many molecules. Okay. And they're telling us it's calcium chloride, CaCl. This is a -1. This is a +2. So CaCl2. Remember to drop and swap on your final exam. Okay. So that's going to be 40.08 plus 35.45 times 2, 110.98 grams per mole. I think. Yep. Okay. So now we've got to calculate number of molecules. And sorry, they also tell us mass. What can I get if I have molar mass and mass? Number of moles. Okay, well, let's do that. That's our first step. Second step, because this was our first step. Okay, 175 divided by 110.98 will give us our number of moles. So 175 divided by 110.98. Whoa, what's the decimal? 0.98. Okay, so I have 1.558. We'll keep all the decimals. I'm just going to write 1.58 for now. 1.58 moles. All right, so now I've got that.
how am I going to get the number of molecules? Right here. Okay, I'm going to take the number of moles and multiply it by Avogadro's number, because what does Avogadro's number represent? Right, the amount of particles, in this case molecules, in 1 mole. So if I take the number in 1 mole and multiply it by the number of moles, I will get the number of molecules. Okay, everybody follow me there? Okay, we kept using like donuts and eggs, okay, and dozens in class as our example. And if I asked you how many donuts you have, if you have 4 dozen donuts, you would go 4 times 12. Okay, well, if you want to know how many are in 1.58 moles, you multiply by Avogadro's number, because that's how many are in a mole. Okay, so we take our 1.58, okay, and we multiply it by Avogadro's number, which, remember, has to be enclosed in brackets. 6.02, and then you get the E, okay, however your calculator does it, okay, 23. All right, so we're looking at 9.49 times 10 to the 23 molecules. That's our answer there. All right. Questions on how that one worked? Okay, so the other kind goes the other way. Okay, so you guys see if you can figure out what the mass of 2.5 times 10 to the 24 molecules of hydrogen chloride is. Okay, so it's kind of backwards from what we did. They give you the number of molecules this time, and now you're looking for the mass. Okay, give you a few minutes on that one. Okay, so for this one here, okay, we're looking for the mass of 2.5 times 10 to the 24 molecules of hydrogen chloride. So we want to calculate the molar mass of hydrogen chloride that has 1 hydrogen, 1.01, 1 chlorine, 35.45, for a total of 36.46 grams per mole. Okay, then we want to calculate the number of moles. Okay, we do that by taking the number of molecules we have and dividing by Avogadro's number. Okay, in the same way that if we wanted to know how many dozen eggs we had, we would go 24 divided by 12. It would tell us 2 dozen. Okay, so that's what we're doing here. Okay, we're taking the number of molecules we have and we're dividing by Avogadro's number, and we get that it's 4.153 with some other decimals moles. Okay, so now we have N and we have big N. Okay, so now we can calculate mass. Okay, we're going to manipulate the mole equation. Okay, to solve for little m, so that means multiply n times big M. So we take our 4.153 that we calculated here, and we're going to multiply it by the molar mass, 36.46 grams per mole, and we get that that'll have a mass of 151.41 grams. All right, so those are the kinds of things that you're going to have coming up for you, at least in the chemistry part. I know we didn't get to do much else, but we just did the unit exam for physics, so you've done some studying for that already. Okay, but obviously, we want to review a few more things in physics as well. Okay. How many of you are planning on coming in during one of the 2 health sessions? Okay. Good. When you come in, the desks will be arranged differently. Okay, they're going to be arranged lengthwise for final exams, but just come in and we'll still work. Okay, but come in with some questions. Okay, if you just come in and go, Mr. Coderre, I need help, you can be like, okay, with what? Okay, so make sure you come in. When you come in for help, you've got some specific things that you want to go over, so you make the most use of the time that you have. Okay, if you're just coming in to look at your tests, that's fine too. Okay, you're just coming in because you want a quiet place to study because your kid brother keeps making too much noise at home, that's fine too. Okay, whatever it takes to get prepared for the exam. All right. So thanks for a good semester, guys. If everybody can mask up, I'll come around and spray desks. Okay, and we'll call her a semester. That's crazy. Huh? That's crazy. Come on.
Bio, I was like, that was my favorite one.
I'm so obsessed with bio.
Wait, when you have it?
I have that favorite period. I go with Turner.
I was bored with Becky and Wait, Daryl, do you have bio next semester?
Yeah.
When do you have it?
I think I have the last period, but
Hey, let's go.
with who though?
Wait,
Do you have your schedule?
I haven't, I have to go to the No, I don't. I kind of remember her name sounds like. Amy? Did you say AP?
Miss Soto teaches AP Bio. You could have Paul Guard as well.
Oh, I have Paul Guard. I think that's what it is. I think there was Georgia. We might do Georgia. Oh, no. Oh, no. I got math. I got, when do you have I have either first year or like, I have the second. I have, yeah. Hey, let's go.
Hey.
What do you guys have?
Oh, that one we won't. It's only for the big graphics. Okay, yeah. So like, I don't want them to take it away just for it to help. No, it's not something like this. Memory. Yeah. It's really confusing. It's, yeah, just for the big graphics. Yeah, we'll see if you can. Oh, yeah.